Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick warning before we begin. This is a pretty strong story that involves drug addiction and its fallout. So if you are sensitive to that subject, you might want to skip this one. And now, let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user iCandyGit. Me, 57 male, my stepdaughter, 24 female, she's married to a total deadbeat, 34 male, for 5 years, and I'll be kicking her out in 2 days. Background: I'm married to a great lady. When we married, she had 3 kids from her previous marriage and I had 4 from mine. We have 3 children together, ages 12, 12, and 10. All of the older kids are mostly grown up and on their own. A 23-year-old son from my first marriage is living in the pool house. This daughter, let's call her Heidi, is from my wife's first marriage. They adopted her as an infant and she had a very nice middle-class upbringing. Father is a doctor and a stay-at-home mother. They divorced when she was 6 and her mother and I married when she was 8. She stayed mostly with her father and of course, we had lots of time with her as well. She was always a handful and made poor decisions. She did poorly in school but did graduate. We found out she was pregnant right before high school graduation and she came to live with us. An adoption plan was in place and she was very okay with that, until she met the ne'er-do-well piece of crap. He is 10 years older and has rarely worked. Let's call him piece of crap because that's what he is. He's a high school dropout with zero potential that loves making the wrong decisions and hasn't bothered to get a GED even when it has practically been handed to him. Piece of crap talked her into keeping the baby, convinced her to move in with him, etc. She had the baby and even named the kid after him, and put his name on the birth certificate too. The bio father was her high school ex-boyfriend. 5 years go by and they are still unable to take care of themselves. They lived with his mother for a few years and with friends or his sister. Oh, and another baby comes along. The little one is now 2.5 years old. Both of the children were living with his mother for a while last year, while Heidi and piece of crap were actually panhandling in a big city 2 hours away. A year ago, my wife and I are talking to her ex, Heidi's dad, about what to do with Heidi, and rather than saying hell no, I allowed for the 2 little kids to stay with us while Heidi and piece of crap figured something out. Then a few months later, Heidi and piece of crap come to town and stay with us while they find work, etc. They actually find jobs and have a move-out plan. My wife's ex and I work together to get them set up in an apartment and get them furniture and pay a few months' rent and tell them they are on their own. We invite them over for Sunday dinner and stuff like that, and since they do not have a car, we even would pick them up and stuff. That lasts about 6 months. As soon as they were supposed to start paying rent on their own, they fail and get evicted. Heidi says she's through and is going to divorce piece of crap because he drinks, uses drugs, physically abuses her, etc. She asks if she and the boys can move in with us for a few weeks while she starts the divorce process and gets a place of her own. I say okay if she's going to actually divorce piece of crap. She and the boys move in and 2 weeks later it is pretty obvious there will not be a divorce. Meanwhile, I tell him not to come around. That was when I was still thinking the divorce was coming. Now I find out she was fired from her job a few weeks ago because of drug use. Piece of crap still has a job and is living in a men's hotel type place that costs as much as the apartment they were renting. Now I also find out that Heidi has stolen $1,000 that I had in an envelope to pay for housework. All the quarters in my giant change jar are gone and one of my wife's credit cards is missing and was used at a convenience store chain where my wife never shops. So here's what I want to do. First off, Heidi is getting kicked out tomorrow. Then I'm going to tell her that since she and piece of crap obviously are incapable of taking care of their children, I would be willing to adopt them and have a lawyer get started on it right away. I have a very nice home and we have a comfortable income and can give these kids a proper life. Definitely better than what Heidi and piece of crap could ever do for them. And lastly, if we do adopt these children, would I be legally able to have the youngest then be adopted by a very nice childless couple I know? Alright OP, I don't know if you would be legally able to do that, but I would say don't do that. I think that if you really want to help these kids, because let's face it, just like you say, Heidi and piece of crap are unfit to be parents, then you either take them both or you find a home for them both. But just don't split those 2 kids apart. They've been through enough already here and there and then be separated? No. Those kids need to stay together. At least that's what I think. To me, that would be issue number one. The second one is that I don't know if you've given up on Heidi or not. We don't know how many chances she's gotten from you guys. We just know what's on the post. But the question would be, are you sure she is outside of any help that can be given to her? And I'm not talking about financial help for them to be on their own or anything like that. She's an addict. I'm wondering if there's any way that you guys can help her get off drugs and then get her life on track. Now, I know your post isn't about that and it's about helping the kids, but you know, Heidi's still in the picture. So in summary, my thinking is help the kids, don't split them up, and see if there is a possibility to help Heidi get off drugs. And what do you guys think about OP's idea? What would you do if you were in his shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Blue Nelly Belly says, I am curious to what her mother, your wife, thinks of your plan. It sounds like it would be easy to eliminate your stepdaughter's boyfriend from this situation and direct her in a better direction with her children. She probably will never be successful and will be toward the poor end of the spectrum when it comes to finances, but that doesn't make one incapable of being a mother to 2 children who she is all they know. If you have money for a gardener and her father is a doctor, I'm sure there are better alternatives than eliminating her from her children. Also, it sounds like the drugs she is using is marijuana. Could be wrong, but that she isn't a full-on crackhead. Some people are weak and are followers, and your stepdaughter sounds like one. Taking children away permanently from their mother is a situation that you should tread lightly in doing. Having losers as parents is quite different than 2 children who are being physically and sexually abused. And OP responds, lots of truth here. Money has never been an issue, but it has also been quite an enabler for her. Her drug of choice appears to be prescription pain meds that she is getting from people on the streets. Quite frankly, she is a lousy mother. She has been physically abusive towards them and has control issues. Our choice would be to eliminate her husband, but she has to do that. We can help, but she has to be adamant in the decision, and I think as soon as she's a little horny, she'll run right back to him. Remember Coombe Valley says, and lastly, if we do adopt these children, would I be legally able to have the youngest then be adopted by a very nice childless couple I know? End quote. What? No, sorry, that's so not how custody works. And the fact that you want to keep one and give the other one away, you know, splitting 2 kids who are accustomed to having only each other in this world is honestly kind of effing sick. And OP responds, considering how these kids have been raised by their parents so far, it would not suck. They have been split up more times than they have ever been together, and when together, their parents were drugging or beating on each other. The only time these kids have had any normalcy was when staying with us. However, at 57, I'm not sure about raising a high-spirited 2-year-old. Deleted says, you should post this to r/legal advice. You're probably at least going to have to give her 30 days notice to leave. If she doesn't leave at the end of that, you might have to file for an eviction in court. And OP responds, legally that is true. However, she agreed at the beginning that it was only going to be for a few weeks, and I told her a month ago that she had to move out on a specific date, and that isn't 2 days. So I'll tell her tomorrow to get ready to leave. But I did not process an actual eviction. I told her the kids could stay if they needed to. Additional information from OP's comments. So, just to clarify, Heidi and the children are living with me. The adoption would only occur if she and her husband would agree to it. I am offering to care for her children after she moves out if she is unable or willing to care for them herself. I am kicking her out because of the theft and drug use and the previously agreed upon arrangement that since she is not planning on divorcing her husband, she go and live with him starting tomorrow. Her husband should be taking care of his wife and his children, not me. As long as I take care of them, he doesn't have to, and he stays in his hotel room, works minimal hours, gets drunk, and when he's horny calls Heidi up to come over and fool around. And for those of you asking, Heidi's dad did not abuse her, that's a fact. He dallied with a nurse and that's why my wife divorced him, but he was not mean or abusive to his children. This is really telling about the nature of many Redditors. I presented my scenario and asked a very simple question. If I am able to adopt 2 kids, would I then be able to have the youngest adopted by another couple? That was the extent of my question. The rest of what I said was the background on what I think is a sticky situation. But the response from Redditors is not answers to the question I posed, but nasty judgments about me and Heidi's father. Many Redditors are certainly a bunch of sanctimonious pricks. Alright, well, the community agrees that OP shouldn't split the kids up, and we got a lot more context as to what's going on, including OP's personal opinion regarding Redditors. Fair enough. So now with all that information, let's move on to the first of 2 updates that OP has given us. It's been 8 months since my original post, and to catch everyone up, I did have Heidi, stepdaughter now 25, leave, and the boys, now 3 and 6, stayed with us. Since that time, Heidi and her piece of crap husband have continued to spiral down further and further. I found out their drug of choice is heroin, not prescription meds, but they'll abuse those too. I have also learned that they have stolen far more things from me than I thought. Car parts, tools, cash, and jewelry. It became more evident that they will never be able to effectively parent these kids. They quickly became homeless, street-living panhandlers. One time, when Heidi came to visit the boys, it was fairly obvious she shot up her heroin in the bathroom. We attempted to get her into rehab, but she failed and went right back onto the streets as soon as she could. Meanwhile, the little boys are doing great. Then, Heidi said she thought the boys should probably be adopted. We talked to a few attorneys and to some friends of ours that have been hoping and praying for an opportunity to adopt. Things are falling into place. Heidi met with an attorney that represents her interests, and she signed the adoption consent. I tracked her husband down. They have separated. He is living under bridges and wherever, and either panhandling or stealing to get by. I had him meet with an attorney, and he is almost done with signing the consent. If he had fought it, then he would have been on the stick for 6+ years of child support, etc. We started the transition process, and the boys absolutely love every minute they are spending with this couple. I love these boys, but this is the very best decision for them now. Instead of being abandoned by their heroin junkie parents and being raised by crotchety old grandpa, they will have loving parents that want them desperately. Oh, and the parents-to-be? The wife is a middle school Spanish and choir teacher and an MM in voice performance, and the husband is a college music professor, DM. The judge should be finalizing this soon. It is an open adoption, and the kids will know they have several sets of grandparents. I like being their grandpa. I just wish Heidi and the piece of crap would find sobriety, but it looks really grim for them. Well, it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for the kids in the sense that they are being taken to a home that really wants them, so that's a good thing. The sad part is that they did try to help Heidi with rehab, but that didn't stick and it failed. So now let's move on to the final update to see how this story ends. This is the final update. It's been 3 months since my last update. Last week, the boys were officially adopted. The transition from our house to their new parents' home was nice and smooth. The boys have embraced their new parents wonderfully. Our daughter, Heidi, has had several meetings with the new parents and she is happy for her sons. Yet, I am sure she has some tremendously sad moments, especially now that the new little family is moving several states away. Heidi's estranged husband is getting worse. He failed a methadone treatment program just a week into it because he was slamming the methadone with other drugs. Rumor now is that he has HIV and hepatitis. The last time I saw him, he looked absolutely horrible. I gave him some money for food and took him to a store, but he wandered around the store for a bit, then snuck out the back without buying anything and used the money I gave him to buy more heroin. Heidi is going from couch to couch and probably sleeping outside sometimes too. She has dropped by to use our shower and sometimes to wash clothes, but we have to watch her or else she'll steal something. We're very lucky she didn't steal more than she did. The future for Heidi and the deadbeat are pretty grim, but the future of 2 little boys is fantastic. We began transitioning the boys 4 months ago by having the new parents visit our home. Then after a bit, the boys would spend time over there, then a few overnights, and 2 months ago the boys were living there and visiting us. This was all done according to a specific transition plan. Even though the actual court proceedings were final last week, where the judge issued the final adoption order, the boys have been living with and being cared for by the new parents for a couple of months. As I said in my previous update, this is an open adoption where everybody keeps in contact with each other and the adopting parents are saying they are joining my family as much as the boys are joining theirs. My wife and I still get to be grandma and grandpa, and it looks like I have acquired a new son-in-law and daughter-in-law. Extended update from OP's comments. I wish no one ever would have to be adopted. Unfortunately, sometimes it has to happen. Heidi as a newborn infant was adopted by my wife and her ex-husband. Heidi hasn't turned out so well, as illustrated by this adoption story, but her birth parents abandoned her at birth and evidently were pretty nasty people. My wife and her ex provided a very nice upper middle class home with love and kindness. Even though they divorced when Heidi was 6 and I married her mother when she was 8, her life was pretty good. She then had 4 loving parents, and there was little if any drama when the divorce happened. I know that divorces and remarriages affect children, but Heidi still ended up with far more love and support than whatever would have happened if her birth parents had decided to keep her. However, Heidi started making very poor choices at a very early age. She was a very difficult child and seemed like she was going to be rebellious and drug-seeking as soon as she possibly could. I firmly believe that there was nothing any one of us could have done to prevent her from becoming what she has become. We just hope that somehow she is able to change. All of her parents will always be there to support her when she wants to change. And make no mistake, we've tried everything in our power to help her. We even arranged for her to have some sort of long-lasting detox implant. It is good for a couple of years, I believe. But in the end, we can't make her make the right decisions, and naturally, we can't let her steal from us or use our house as her opium den. We only want what is best for her, and that ends the story. Well, OP, this is a happy ending for the kids, but a not so happy one for Heidi. So here's wishing for those 2 kids the best upbringing possible with what appears to be a very loving couple. And hopefully someday Heidi will want to change and then she can get the support from you guys. So on that note, thank you very much for sharing, OP, and all the best in the future. Take care. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Asher Morte. He's finally gone and all I had to do was nothing. Do you know that guy at work that everyone hates? The rude, obnoxious, lazy one that no one quite understands how he still has a job? Well, mine's name was Bob. For months, Bob partnered himself up with me with a lovely 90-10 split of the work. Anytime I called him out on it, he got more and more obnoxious, and if it was actually possible, did less and less work. On top of all his other charming traits, Bob is an absolute phone addict. This is bad enough in a regular setting. Where we work, it's actually very, very dangerous not to be paying attention to what's going on around you. I've mentioned this to Bob repeatedly, to no avail, even after he was nearly hit by a forklift and almost had his head smacked by a robot. Our manager at the time said, "If you're stupid enough to die because you won't put your phone down, no one's going to miss you," and ignored the behavior. My last straw at even attempting to get this guy to work and be safe was him snapping off saying, "Leave me alone about my effing phone." Well, we just got a new manager, partially because our former manager's attitude towards safety issues, partly because of poor performance. The new manager had a quick, to-the-point meeting at the beginning of our shift and stated very clearly, "I see your phone, you're fired, no excuses, no exceptions." Bob missed this meeting because he was running late, again. About 2 hours later, I see the new manager walking into our area. Bob, as usual, was head down, staring at his phone. Remember when he specifically said to leave him alone about his effing phone? Well, that's exactly what I did. Our new boss wound up standing behind him for a solid 3 minutes before Bob even noticed he was there. Bob was promptly escorted to HR and I was apologized to by the new manager because I'd have to run the work area solo until a replacement was found. No big loss. The extra 10% is well worth knowing that guy won't be around anymore. Guess no one at that job will bother him about his damn phone again. Quick OP update. A lot of you were very worried that I would be stuck running a 2-man job solo for an extended period of time. I just want to let you all know that Bob's replacement was less than a full shift away. So far, so good. Not to mention, I'm getting trainer pay until he is up to speed. Well, OP, he was very clear that he didn't want you to bother him about his effing phone. So, good for you. Thanks for sharing, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.